Good afternoon. It is Thursday, July 1st, 2010. Welcome to A Crohn's Disease Life. I'm the host, Michael Weiss. For those of you who haven't watched the show before, I guess I'm an expert. I've had Crohn's disease for about 25 years. I'm 47, so I was diagnosed, I was about 20, 21, 22, somewhere around there. Uh, I've been through everything. I've been hospitalized over 100 times. I've had a lot of major surgeries. I don't have the T-shirt, but I did write the book. So I wrote a book called Confessions of a Professional Hospital Patient. Sort of a little bit of a joke calling myself a professional hospital patient because I'm an attorney and an MBA as well. But I have been hospitalized a lot. And I wrote this book to sort of share my experiences so people with Crohn's disease and chronic illnesses know what it's like, both in and out of the hospital, and how to handle it with humor, support. It's available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and also on my site, HospitalPatient.com. Whether you're the patient, you're the friend of the patient, or you are a loved one, I think it's a quick read. People tell me it's engaging, funny, and I think it'll give you some insight into what they go through. Okay, today's episode is called How to Handle Being Diagnosed with the Diagnosis of Crohn's Disease. Crohn's disease is an illness that most people don't know much about, but just to be labeled disease freaks a lot of people out. So let me say a couple of things first. Crohn's disease could be very bad, a case like mine, or it could just be, hey, you're going through a bad flare-up, this is what you're diagnosed with, and you may never see a hospital, you may never see a surgery. And they've invented so many drugs since I was diagnosed that I would bet that many of my surgeries wouldn't have happened had they invented these drugs previously. So please don't freak out, okay? But there are a couple of things that I think you need to know about real quick, and I'm going to try to be quick here. And also, what is a flare-up? A flare-up for some people could be wicked diarrhea and going to the bathroom literally 100 times a day. It could be fatigue, fever, and also severe pain. Look at your intestines like a garden hose, and Crohn's disease is all about the intestine having an inflammatory response to food or the environment. People don't really know yet because it's incurable, and when you try to pass food down that garden hose and it's inflamed, the passageway is narrow, the pain is like child labor pain. It's incredibly severe. But some Crohn's patients don't have much pain, they just have the annoyance of the bathroom. So that's another thing about the illness. It's so wide ranging, it's so individualized. So even if you get diagnosed and you start speaking to people, listen to their experience, but know that it's almost like an individualized illness. What works for you may not work for me, and vice versa. So don't freak, okay? And the last thing I want to say about flare-ups is that I know, like in my case, my Crohn's flare-ups, they seem to have a mind of their own. They come and go. I like to say, like the affections of a beautiful, fickle 19-year-old woman I once knew. When the flare-up arrives, it's brutal, and then it leaves just as strangely as it arrived. So keep all that in mind. Okay, real quick. 1, find the right doctor. Emphasis, right doctor. Everyone's going to tell you this is the best doctor, this is the best GI doctor in the state, in the city. You got to find the right doctor for you. That means personality, maybe bedside manner. What are his or her partners like? Because sometimes you may get sick over the weekend. Sometimes you may have to be rushed to the ER. Very important. Sit down with the doctor, talk about a treatment plan. What are they going to put you on? Some docs will go right to steroids. Big mistake, okay? Look at your options. There are many ways to treat Crohn's. How active will that doctor let you be in your treatment plan? Very important. You want a doctor that you can talk to, who's going to listen to you, who's also not going to back down from you either, because they are the doctor. And the treatment plan is key because in a lot of rural areas, people have started on steroids, which is prednisone in this case, much too early. There are so many choices of drugs. And then you get towards the latter end, and these new drugs, Remicade, Humira, Cimzia, they're fantastic drugs, but you may not need to bring in the big gun until later on, and you may never need it. So make sure the doctor that you pick is hip to all the new research, and you have a certain comfort zone. They understand your lifestyle. Now, as part of that conversation with the doctor, talk about pain. In my case, pain's a big issue, and I think gastroenterologists, I don't think they like to uh, prescribe a lot of narcotics. It's just not what they do. I mean, they don't want you to suffer, but now there are pain management specialists, and I've addressed that in a separate video. Find a pain management specialist. Ask the doctor, or you could send me an email. Find one that's right for you, and I've assessed all of those criteria in a separate video. But pain is usually treated separately, unless it's just a minor thing. But if it's a big issue, get a pain management doctor and make sure that the doctors talk to one another. Surgery, I hope you never need it. If you do, ask your GI doctor what he or she thinks. Is there a surgeon that they typically use? If they don't have a surgeon and you have to go find one, make sure the surgeon specializes in Crohn's or colitis or whatever you may have. I know it's tough sometimes, particularly in the rural parts of the country, but it's a numbers game. I mean, Crohn's is it's such a strange illness that the more patients you see as a doctor or a surgeon, whatever, the more weird things you encounter. So God forbid something goes wrong when they operate on you, the odds are they've seen it before. So, it's like dating. It's a numbers game. Um, Insurance, big issue. For some people, it may be the prevailing issue, and I understand that. Money is a big deal. But the reason why I bring it up here is that I know that when I used to go to my New York doctor, who I loved, he was great, he would say, we got to take blood, we got to do this, normal things that would be done in a doctor's office, and I would say, sure, here, take the blood. It didn't hurt that the nurse was really attractive at the time, but I subsequently found out that my insurance company would not reimburse me because they had a contract with a laboratory. So I had to really become familiar with my insurance policy, and I would say, well, just write me a script for the blood work, I'll get it done at this laboratory, I'll send it to you. And nowadays, unfortunately, you got to be really active and take charge and know how to use your insurance policy correctly. And doctors understand that now. In the same token, I think that it's very, very important for you to be active in your care, and it's very important to let your doctor know you plan to be active. And by active, what do I mean? Keep a food diary. If you're going through a flare-up, write down what you eat. Don't spend hours on this, but just write down so that you have an idea of what type of foods or what time of day or night you ate, so that maybe there's a pattern there. Do the same thing with drugs, whatever drugs you're taking, because sometimes we're guinea pigs, Crohn's patients, and we have to do sort of a process of elimination to figure out which is the culprit. Could be food, could be drugs, could be what time of day we're ingesting them. Uh, uh, Emergency room. If you're a chronically ill patient, I suggest that you pack a bag, an overnight bag, put it in a closet somewhere, tell people your quote-unquote support group that you have a bag, and either bring it with you to the hospital or bring it after. The bag should have things that make you feel comfortable in the hospital, books and slippers and pajamas, and also a list of all the medications that you're on. And if you ever do have to go through a prolonged hospital stay, bring your drugs to the hospital, but only do so if you give them to the nurse so that they can inventory them and then dispense them accordingly. You'll save a lot of money. Support group, I sort of mentioned it, it's incredibly important. Whether it's your friends or your family, you have to tell people what's going on. A lot of them won't understand the illness, and depending upon your age, it could be a difficult thing to understand. Your friends love you, they will come around. Some don't love you, they won't come around. So in some ways, Crohn's is a good way of finding that out. It was for me. I'm very lucky that most of my friends stayed. But you need a support group, people who will help you. And there's a nuance to it. I mean, in business and in dating, you got to be careful what you reveal. Only reveal what you need to. And in dating, there's a nuance to it. Don't ever lead with Crohn's disease. It's just something that you have. Sometimes it's real bad, sometimes it's not. There are people who are crazy who don't know it, and that's just as bad. So don't look at it as such a big deal, because the more you look at it as a big deal, the more they will. And the last comment I'll tell you about that is a woman I dated while I was in law school told me something which I never forgot. And I was in the hospital. I was worried about my illness and how it might affect us. And she said, Michael, your Crohn's disease will never affect our relationship, but how you handle your Crohn's disease will. So therefore, that's why I titled this How to Handle a Diagnosis of Crohn's Disease. Okay, and I hope I've helped you. If you have any questions, you can email me at michaelweiss@hospitalpatient.com. You can leave a comment here on the YouTube video or hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter name is Hospital Patient. So thank you and good luck.